By the side of every president is a first lady, and that role is not only an influential one, but one that helped build America. From Martha Washington to Melania Trump, our next guest is sharing the untold stories behind the ladies of the White House. First Ladies man Andrew Och, author of Unusual for Their Time, On the Road with America's First Ladies, is here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Wonderful to be here with you.
Thanks for coming. So your volume 2 of your book picks up with Edith Roosevelt, who we'll talk about in a second. But your thesis is that America would not be what it is without Martha Washington, the very beginning.
Absolutely. George Washington is Martha's second husband. Her first husband elevated her social standing and her finances and her property. So when George comes along, he basically marries up. Now, he gets a lot with Martha with the property and the real estate and the finances and things. But if Martha couldn't run the home, he couldn't start the revolution. He would have to be doing all the things that Martha did. She's highly intelligent for anyone of the time, anyone of today, probably. And the way she ran the home allowed George Washington to start the Revolutionary War, which becomes America, which becomes one of the most influential countries in the world. World War II would be different. World War I would be different. Everything would be different without America in the modern world.
And that's the common thread that you found between all the first ladies, highly intelligent and able to hold down the home while their husbands are doing this very busy, very important work.
Absolutely. And their work is very important, too. I don't mean to say that their place was in the home or they were, you know, running around cleaning and things like that. These were massive estates and businesses and farms and things that had to have someone with some wherewithal to run them to make them successful and allow their husband to be president.
And one example of that is actually here on our area on Long Island, Sagamore Hill, which was the home of Edith Roosevelt and former President Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, and Edith is fantastic. She often gets outshadowed by Eleanor Roosevelt for good reason. Eleanor Roosevelt was very accomplished in her own right, extremely. And Theodore Roosevelt is such a huge character that Edith is kind of quiet and off in the shadows. But after the children are grown and after Theodore is gone, she really blossoms and gets a passport, which I've held and looked at Sagamore Hill. She went around the world. There's fantastic pictures of her riding camels through the desert and the pyramids in Egypt. Yeah. She was a real explorer too. So I think she and Teddy were a good match when they were together.
Because you visited all of as many places as you can associated with these
all the libraries, museums, churches, schools, homes, train stations, plantation farms.
Everything.
Every first lady I could, from Martha Washington, now Melania.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Jackie Kennedy and Nancy Reagan. You like to kind of compare and contrast them, or compare them, actually.
I do. You know, it's interesting. What's good for one first lady is not always good for another, and what's bad for one first lady is not always criticized in another. And Jacqueline Kennedy and Nancy Reagan are perfect examples of this. They're modern first ladies that everyone has a handle on, or they think already that they know. But Nancy Reagan said openly that she wanted to restore a Kennedy-esque elegance to the White House. Well, Jacqueline Kennedy was celebrated for the money that she spent restoring the White House and the dresses that she wore and the pomp and circumstance. And she was a wonderful first lady. And Nancy Reagan often got criticized for that. So you have to think these women are the most influential, unelected, unpaid women in the world just for who they're married to. And we're kind of a fickle, you know, mob mentality with short memory spans, and we don't realize that, you know, one first lady trying to do the same thing that another did is not a bad thing.
And speaking of Jackie, you said that Melania Trump could be the next Jackie-type first lady.
She speaks a number of different languages. She can be wildly successful on the international stage and here at home. People, humans, especially Americans, like young, attractive first ladies with families. She has all that. And a big thing that first ladies do for their husbands is that they lead their PR campaign, and they make their husbands more palatable and more favorable in the media and in the public. And Melania could certainly do that for her husband.
What was the most interesting part of researching this book for you?
I love to travel, and I love to learn things that people don't commonly know. And there was an instance of that for every single first lady, from Martha all the way to Michelle. It was now Melania. Yes. It was a fantastic journey that now I get to share with everyone.
And there's not politics in it. It's really mostly
it's getting to know the women who were the young girls, the girlfriends, the wives, the mothers, the aunts, the then grandmothers and widows. They're just fantastic women with fantastic stories, all of them.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate just a shadow of everything that you've learned.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming in. And for more information on both volumes of his book, you can head to our website, cbsnewyork.com.